Hey everybody, Logan Alex CPA here. I own Choice Tax Relief. A little while back, I made a video on the IRS one-time forgiveness program. On that video, Joshua Kim 1218 commented, "I paid my taxes, so why can't they be responsible and pay their taxes?" Joshua, I get where you're coming from, and at a certain level, this makes sense. I have fulfilled my civic obligation as a citizen, resident, whatever, to pay my tax obligation. So why can't all these people do the same? And I guess I'll address that on two levels. One is kind of on the individual level. And I'll tell you, Joshua, for most of our clients, there's something that happened to them or some life event or some hardship or in some cases even some tragedy that led to them just not being able to fulfill their tax obligations year after year. Okay, so that accounts for I would say the majority of our client base here at Choice Tax Relief, why they're not able to pay their taxes. Okay, now there's another group which I wouldn't say they're the majority of people we come across who reach out to help, but there's still a healthy number of these kinds of folks reach out to us. It's just an issue of, unfortunately, mismanagement. Either a mismanagement of their funds or a mismanagement of maybe if they're a business owner of keeping records and keeping track so they can do an accurate tax return and figure out how much they owe and make their quarterly payments, just a lack of organization. That has led to this issue of having this tax problem of why they can't pay their taxes and why they may potentially qualify for some relief from the government on their taxes. And then there's kind of this third group, which we can't help, frankly, because they don't need a tax relief company. They need a criminal defense attorney. But then there's the fraudsters, the hucksters, the tax evaders, who, maliciously and willfully evaded their tax obligations. Okay, because there's a difference between folks who just got behind, either through some hardship that they endured in their life, some life circumstance, or just their lack of knowledge, perhaps in how to accurately keep records and file their tax returns and pay their taxes. There's a difference between those categories of folks and folks who are intentionally trying to cheat the government out of their taxes. Okay, we'll help those first two groups. We won't help the last group. My tax consultants, other people who speak to clients and prospects here at the company, they know that, hey, if the story is not adding up or starting to sound a little shady, you need to cut them off right there and give them a referral to a criminal tax defense attorney. Okay. We do hire tax attorneys here at Choice Tax Relief, but we hire the kind of tax attorneys who negotiate with the IRS, not those who deal with criminal matters, which is another kind of specialty when it comes to tax law. And so the next question might be, well, okay, so these folks got behind on their taxes. Let's say it wasn't for a malicious reason. They simply got behind. Why? Why on earth does the government kind of cut them a break, so to speak, right? When it comes to their taxes. This is kind of somewhat philosophical. It brings up principles of economics. But at the bottom line, the reason why the government has things like these tax relief programs, or even bankruptcy, something like bankruptcy for that matter, is because, believe it or not, although it may seem unfair on an individual to individual level, believe it or not, the government believes these things, these debt relief, debt forgiveness programs, including tax relief programs, to be in the best interest of the government. The government believes that if it can give a little grace to somebody for maybe the last 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever years of back taxes that they owe, get them to see the light, so to speak, and get on the straight and narrow now, that going forward, they'll change their ways and get on the good foot and start paying their taxes and being a good tax-paying citizen for the next 10, 20, 30, however many years. Okay. It's in the best interest of the government to institute these debt relief programs so that rather than somebody getting behind for a few years and then attempting to go off the grid or off the radar, or that just spiraling years and years and years and years for the next 30 years or whatever, they'd rather give a little grace up front. In return, they get a good little taxpayer, right? For however many years that individual is going to be earning taxable income in the future. Because frankly, we don't have a society anymore where, if you don't pay your taxes, the government can just throw you in, in some harsh labor camp for the next 50 years, right? And they'll get a lot of value from that. We don't have that society. If that was somehow instituted, here, Americans, we'd revolt against such a thing. Okay. And it's interesting, even the ancients kind of understood these principles. When we think of modern debt relief, the government, institutes procedures for that. We think of bankruptcy. A lot of our bankruptcy concepts in the United States come from, bankruptcy law in England. But even kind of before that, the ancient people kind of understood that debt relief, although it may seem unfair to creditors, or comparing one person who's always paid their debts to this other person who gets debt relief, it's still in the best interest of the society and government as a whole. There's a kind of an interesting little article on Wikipedia, and obviously Wikipedia isn't some be-all, end-all source, but it's easy to read. So maybe, Joshua, if you read this article, this little, Wikipedia article, might kind of shed some light on what I'm talking about. Debt relief or debt forgiveness has been practiced in many societies since antiquity. Periodic debt remission was institutionalized in the ancient Near East and contributed to the stability of its societies. And there's kind of been this ebb and flow throughout history. It says Greece and Rome, the laws were more creditor friendly, blah, blah, blah. Talks about medieval stuff, which influenced modern personal bankruptcy law. I'm not a historian or anything like that, but it is kind of an interesting read here about various kind of debt relief programs instituted in both ancient and modern societies, with the ultimate goal not just being, we're going to be nice to people, but really this contributes to the stability of society rather than punishing all these debtors forever. We're going to give them a chance at a fresh start. Okay, same thing with tax relief. Okay, whenever the IRS accepts an offer in compromise to settle out a taxpayer's debt for less than they owe, the government has concluded that acceptance, that offer, that this contract, the settlement, is in fact in the government's best interest. So Joshua, I hope that helps. Maybe, I don't know if that will help maybe frame your thinking a little bit more. I get where you're coming from. It at a certain sense, it is unfair, to those who do pay their taxes by hook or by crook, that, some people get their taxes written off. I get that at a high level. But at another level, everybody's situation is different. We can't necessarily compare Joshua's situation to somebody else's situation and treat them on level playing fields, because they might not be on level playing fields. There might have been some hardship or something else experienced by this individual, some traumatic life event, some tragic life event, that has caused them to be in this situation they're in. So I don't want to sound, too sympathetic here, but that's the reality of things. Anyway, folks, if you have found yourself in a tax pickle, you owe at least $10,000 or more to the IRS or your state government in back taxes, or you have at least 2 years of unfiled tax returns, give us a call here at Choice Tax Relief, 866-8000-TAX. That's 866-8000-829. Or you could visit our website, choicetaxrelief.com. Fill out the form on the homepage, and we will reach out to you. I have some other lovely, wonderful videos featuring none other than me on the left-hand side of the screen for your viewing pleasure and enjoyment and education. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.